Hello, everyone. I'm Chandan. I'm Group Engineering Manager in Microsoft. And with me, I have Amit, who is Senior Technical Marketing Engineer in Isovalent. And today, we're going to talk how joint collaboration between Microsoft and Isovalent are unlocking the potential with eBPF and Cilium to make Azure as the best platform for running your cloud-native application. So let's dive in. A little bit brief about the agenda. We will start with Azure and Cilium journey. Then we dive deep into Isovalent journey in Azure and some of the features which Cilium Enterprise through Isovalent are supported in Azure and how that integrates with the rest of the Azure products through Azure Linux and Azure Arc. So before we dive into this, I want to just start with giving a glimpse of how Cilium runs in Azure. And the way we have built integration of Azure with Cilium in fusing the power of Azure networking stack with that of eBPF and Cilium in the guest is to make sure that we make both scalable, performant, reliable solution for containers in Azure. We announced that next generation of Azure CNI is powered by Cilium. What it means is while we leverage the potential of eBPF and Cilium in the guest, we do it in a way which can elastically scale, which can natively integrate with Azure. And the way we have built this is we can give both the power of VNet stack, the Azure networking stack, to all your container applications. So when we build this, we integrated our delegated IPAM with Cilium. So you can have both VNet addressing mode, where paths can be addressed fully routable in your virtual network, or the overlay networking mode, which actually allows you to have isolated networks for your different applications and different clusters, while both of them not having any penalty in the performance, both of them using the same native Azure networking stack for routing and for making sure that it can scale elastically across the board. And when we combine this with the Cilium's capability in the guest, we allow us to leverage rich capability eBPF can give us for giving advanced feature for security, for observability, for load balancing. And this is all brings the best of both worlds together. So let's look into our journey of how this has been going on. So we started on this stuff on 2021, where we announced the eBPF Foundation. We realized the potential of eBPF has in changing the landscape on how the networking, observability, and security has to be shaped up. We continued this journey in 2022 when we say the next generation of Azure CNI is going to be powered by Cilium. And there we announced in 2023 general availability of it in Azure. Azure CNI powered by Cilium is completely based on the open source Cilium, which actually leverage all the things community has built together. What the eBPF gives us, it gives us a platform where it's managed and supported by Microsoft while it's leveraging all the goodness of eBPF and Cilium, and very tightly integrated, as I explained earlier, with Azure networking stack. Then in 2023, we continued our joint collaboration with Isovalent to bring the advanced feature of Cilium to Azure as well. And that also is natively integrated, built on top of things we have built for Azure CNI with Cilium. 2024, we continued this collaboration to extend it beyond to different flavors of OS, and then making sure that Isovalent and Cilium Enterprise are a preferred and trusted partner for Azure Linux. And in 2024, Isovalent team did even more work to integrate this thing to be available in Azure Arc for your multi-cloud deployments. So with this, I want to give the floor to Amit to talk a little bit more details of the Cilium Enterprise and Isovalent features for Cilium.
Thank you so much, Chandan, for that introduction. And I'll take a sort of walk you through the journey of how Isovalent Enterprise for Cilium was integrated with the feature sets that Azure CNI powered by Cilium has already provided, and we have leveraged that on top of those particular feature sets. So if you look at the way how Chandan explained it, so we are looking at two respective worlds coming in, one from a very highly performant control plane with a highly performant data plane, which are combined together to give you a sort of a powerful integration with best of two worlds from an Azure Kubernetes service perspective, and not just getting limited to that, We've extended that to multiple other services, which we'll be talking in later slides. And then also sort of using the concepts of eBPF, wherein you're no more relying on something which is the sort of the legacy networking principles of 5-tuple to sort of moving across to identity-based mapping. We've added enhanced Cilium features from what is available on the OSS side to what is available on the enterprise side. There's some very simplified operations across the board, integration with multiple Microsoft products like Sentinel, SIEM, or Defender Cloud, and also the fact that there is support provided by the Azure team for Azure CNI powered by Cilium, whereas Isovalent team provides support for Isovalent Enterprise System, which is completely demarcated and sort of called out. How do we sort of come across and help? So if you look at today's journey or the mapping of a cloud-native platform or a cloud-native journey, I would say, it's actually broken down into multiple personas. You have platform teams, you have SecOps teams, you have application teams. Each team is going across and achieving one particular goal, which is to sort of make sure that all of those particular things in terms of networking, security, observability are mapped. And then you are able to sort of give that particular user experience to the user. If you look at the way, you would look at something from a security perspective, you would be looking at zero trust security. You want to look at, a cluster-based security for perimeter. You want to look at something like transparent encryption. You want to encrypt those particular packets in your particular path of how you're sending it. Could be IPsec, could be wireguard. You want to go across and do ingress. You want to do something like an egress gateway kind of a solution, wherein you want a specific node to be able to take your packets out of that particular cluster. Now, these are features that are provided on the enterprise side from a networking perspective, and not just getting limited to that. When it comes down to the security aspect of things, you've got very rich feature sets that we provide via a product offering, which is very popular now, called as Tetracon. You can do a runtime visibility. Somebody's trying to sort of enter into your particular, a node or a particular VM or a container. They're trying to look at some specific files. They want to focus and look at those particular files, processes. They want to look at some particular events on the TLS side, a Cypher suite that you're running. Everything is visible. And the best part is when you know that something is known to you, is sort of available to you, how do you expose that to your particular teams for them to be able to look at it and remediate and sort of take actions on it? That's where the observability part comes in. We have a product offering which is called Hubble. It's very rich in metrics. You can go across and expose these metrics under the Hubble user interface. And not just that, if you have multiple other product offerings from the perspective of Grafana, Prometheus, or any other Steam exporters, right? You can export those particular metrics out to that as well. How do you go across and sort of install, Isovalent Enterprise for Cilium? So, like Chandan mentioned, that we went GA last year, right? So we've worked across that particular domain of sort of making sure that the Azure customers are very comfortable in using it across all the three ways of achieving this. You can use it via the Azure portal. You can use it, you can deploy it by an Azure Resource Manager template, and also using Azure CLI. What you can do is you can create a greenfield deployment of an AKS cluster running Isovalent Enterprise for Cilium, or you can upgrade your cluster running Azure CNI powered by Cilium to Isovalent Enterprise for Cilium, which calls for a brownfield upgrade. So both of those are applicable. And the beauty of it is, like Chandan mentioned, that you're using delegated IPAN, which could be either in VNet mode or in overlay mode. Both of them are applicable here. So there is no other mechanism that you get to see that Cilium is trying to. We are leveraging what Azure is providing us in terms of sort of leveraging that particular powerful control. And any sort of deployment model is not complete when you have infrastructure as code. So we worked upon that as well. So you have the ability to bring up your clusters on Cilium using either Terraform or Bicep, which is becoming more and more popular, which is released by Microsoft. So now you have the ability to sort of bring up these clusters on Isovalent Enterprise for Cilium and multiple other CNI variable options as well using Terraform or Bicep. So that's how a cluster would look like when it will come up with Isovalent Enterprise for Cilium. You would probably see a billing operator pod that will help you in sort of the billing count that is going to be sort of demarcated against your particular user account that's being used to bring up an AKS cluster. You'll have specific images that are going to be running on top of that, which are being provided by the Isovalent team. So, and these are sort of, security checked, and then these are digitally verified and sort of, signed by the Isovalent team for them to be available and running across your nodes. So, taking the step forward in this particular journey, we sort of went ahead and also have become a trusted partner for Azure Linux. So Isovalent is recognized as a trusted partner for that. Why would you talk about Azure Linux? Azure Linux is a lightweight OS. It's customized in a way that it can run on Azure to sort of fit your requirements for the applications, very specific applications, being very lightweight, you reduce the footprint, and the fact that the surface attack area is reduced. Any kind of an OS which sort of helps you sort of leverage that particular flexibility to reduce surface attack area is sort of gives you the nimble sort of the ability to move across with consistencies across edge to cloud and those particular use cases. It will always be a game changer, and that's where Azure Linux comes in. Why does the combination of ISO and Azure Linux come into the picture? It's the same thing that we talked about with Cilium's data plane and Azure's sort of the Linux container host. We're combining both best of two worlds. And AKS is one of those applications that uses the sort of the container orchestration and is an option for container host. That's why both of these sort of combine together to give you that particular option. One thing which is pretty clear from our customer's perspective, right, when you come up with these kind of an integration is how do I go across and sort of, leverage this particular feature? You can either sort of, create greenfield deployments or more of a sort of the customer sort of mannerisms, keep using or leverage the brownfield deployments, which is to sort of upgrade their existing clusters to a newer feature that's rolled out. So herein, you can actually see the fact that you have two options. One is that you can create a new node pool, which would be running on the OSQ Azure Linux, wherein you can run those particular workloads on the newer node pool that is running Azure Linux. Or you can do an OSQ migration or an upgrade from Ubuntu to Azure Linux. So by default, when an AKS cluster boots up, it boots up in OSQ as Ubuntu, but you can sort of now go ahead and do an OSQ migration to Azure Linux. Just as a note that this is still in preview and should go live in a couple of months' time. Coming on to the multi-cloud, like I said about some of the features that the Isovalent Enterprise for Cilium provides, but if you look at the way, how it goes about, we are always ready to provide those particular features that we've done that on multiple things from a multiple scenarios perspective. But what it also comes down to the fact is there are scenarios where people want to try out these features in either air gap environments. We want to try this out in data centers, which are on-premise data centers. We want to try these out in sandbox environments, or it could be production grade environments as well. Now, there has to be a mechanism where you should be able to manage it. To be able to sort of leverage a particular cloud provider's ability to sort of manage all of these resources for you and sort of then sort of be able to provide you a holistic view. Azure Arc gives you that particular flexibility. You can attach KDS clusters running anywhere, so you can manage and configure them in Azure. Cilium being there as a CNI for all of these clusters, you can sort of, take a look at what is happening in your clusters, what you need to push through, how you need to manage them, and everything related to it. In the end, any specific offering that is available always comes down to the fact that how do you learn that particular offering? So the Isovalent team has put down a lot of effort in creating labs that can help you in this particular journey. You can sort of reach out to the team to sort of enroll for these labs, which are actually free, which are totally free for anybody to sort of use. We have learning tracks that talk about these particular feature sets. We release blogs, which sort of help the team to be able to send across or sort of deliver specific messages to customers who are trying to work on specific use cases. With that, I'd like to sort of pass it over to Chandan to sort of add on any specific things that you would like to sort of wrap up this particular conversation.
Hey, thanks, Amit, for excellent walkthrough for different integration points we have with Isovalent and Cilium Enterprise and Azure. So hopefully this talk gave you a little bit of overview of how Microsoft and Isovalent are jointly working to make sure the Cilium runs best in Azure. We have a most performance, scalable, and reliable container networking in the planet, and hope you will be able to leverage all of this capability to run your cloud applications in Azure on your journey to use the cloud provider. With that, thank you all.
Thank you all.
Bye.